Have you ever felt like your life was following an invisible script, a storyline that keeps repeating no matter how hard you try to change it? Different faces, new jobs, fresh surroundings, yet deep down, the same patterns play again and again. That's not coincidence. That's the quantum trap of unconscious observation. You didn't click on this message by chance. The quantum field brought you here because you've reached the exact threshold where the hidden mechanism of reality can finally be revealed. And once you understand it, you'll never experience life. For years, people have spoken about the observer effect, the idea that your attention collapses possibilities into reality. But here's the truth. No one tells you observation alone doesn't free you. It traps you. It keeps collapsing the same probabilities over and over, reinforcing the same story, like a broken record. Unconscious observation manufactures the same reality endlessly. That's why so many feel exhausted. They visualize, affirm, push harder, yet their lives circle back to the same loops. They're still acting inside the old script, pouring new words into the same role. And until you shift at the quantum level, nothing truly changes. But here's the hidden key. The fact that you are here proves your quantum selection is awakening. You've begun to notice the cracks in the holographic glass, the subtle ripples in time whispering that something greater exists. Take a breath. Feel this moment. This isn't just another video. It's a threshold, a doorway, an invitation to step beyond the old script. And what you'll discover here is the one thing that turns observation from a prison into liberation. Imagine waking up every morning thinking you're starting fresh, yet somehow ending up in the same patterns, same arguments, same disappointments, same emotional spirals. This isn't just bad luck or poor decisions. This is what we call the observer loop. The observer loop is a hidden mechanism in consciousness where your awareness unconsciously collapses the same probabilities again and again. Each morning, when you remember your problems, your identity, your struggles, you are observing them back into existence. Your attention acts like a magnet, pulling yesterday's version of reality into today. And without realizing it, you become trapped in a self-reinforcing cycle. Think of it like a quantum algorithm running in the background. No matter what new inputs you try to add new goals, new affirmations, new strategies, the program keeps producing the same output because the underlying code hasn't changed. Observation is the code, and if that code runs unconsciously, the loop continues indefinitely. This explains why déjà vu feels so strange. It's not simply a glitch in memory. It's your awareness catching a glimpse of the loop itself, recognizing that the same timeline has been played before. The loop disguises itself as normal life, but beneath the surface, you are walking circles inside the same probability field. The observer loop isn't punishment. It's training. It shows you how powerful your attention really is. Once you notice the loop, you're already breaking its spell. Awareness creates cracks in the repetition. And from those cracks, a new reality can begin to emerge. But awareness alone is just the first step. The question is, how do you move beyond the loop entirely? The best way to understand the observer loop is to imagine an old vinyl record. When the record is smooth, the music flows beautifully, track after track. But when there's a scratch, the needle gets stuck. The same fragment of sound repeats endlessly, creating the illusion that the song is frozen in place. Your consciousness works in the same way. Each thought, memory, and emotional pattern acts like a groove etched into the record of your mind. When you wake up and immediately recall the same worries, or when you focus on the same disappointments, the needle of awareness drops into that familiar groove. And just like the broken record, it plays the same reality over and over. This is why life can feel stagnant even when you're trying to change. You might switch jobs, move cities, or start new relationships. But if the groove hasn't changed, the song doesn't change either. The outer details may look different, but the melody of your experience remains the same. That melody is your unconscious Most people believe change comes from effort, trying harder, doing more. pushing against old circumstances. But in the broken record metaphor, effort is just pressing harder on the needle. The scratch doesn't go away. The loop continues. The only way to change the song is to lift the needle and place it in a new groove. In quantum terms, that means shifting your frequency before observing. Until you do, the observer loop will keep replaying and here's the crucial point. Noticing the scratch is the first step. Awareness gives you the chance to lift the needle. But the deeper question is, are you willing to stop replaying the old song? You've probably felt the loop in your own life, even if you didn't have the words for it. Think about the moments of déjà vu, those strange flashes when you realize you've lived this exact situation before. Not just something similar, but the same words, the same tone, the same sequence. That's not a random brain glitch. It's a glimpse of the observer loop repeating itself. Or maybe you've noticed time distortion, hours dragging endlessly when you're stuck in routine tasks, yet entire weeks disappearing without any sense of real progress. This elastic sense of time is a clear signal that your consciousness is running in circles, collapsing the same probabilities so tightly that you mistake most. Then there are the patterns in relationships. Différents people, different places, but somehow the same emotional dynamics show up again. The controlling boss that feels like the overbearing parent, the partner who triggers the same insecurities as the one before. These aren't coincidences. They're reflections of the same groove playing in your field of observation. Until the loop is broken, the cast may change, but the play remains the same. And perhaps most haunting of all are those quiet moments when you catch yourself thinking, haven't I been here before? Haven't I lived this exact chapter already? That eerie sensation isn't delusion. It's your higher self signaling that you've recognized the repetition. The observer loop isn't just theory, it's lived experience. It's the fatigue you feel from reliving yesterday in disguise. But recognition is powerful. Every time you notice déjà vu, time distortion, or repeating patterns, you're glimpsing the code behind the illusion. And that glimpse is the first invitation to step out of the cycle entirely. Here's the hidden danger. Observation without awareness doesn't just record reality, it recreates it. Every time you unconsciously identify with the same story, you collapse the same probabilities, and the loop tightens. You're not just watching the play, you're acting in it, rehearsing the same role, and this is why so many people feel stuck. They believe they're victims of circumstance, but in truth, they are participants in a cycle of unconscious observation. The field doesn't care whether you're aware or not. It responds to attention. And whatever you observe with consistency, even unconsciously, becomes the stage you live. It's like living inside a holographic mirror. You think you're simply reflecting on your past, but in that very act of reflection, you're projecting the same image forward. The mirror doesn't differentiate intention, it only amplifies. But here's the subtle shift. The very moment you notice the loop, you've already weakened it. Awareness cracks the script. Recognition loosens the pattern. And from that opening, a new timeline becomes possible. The loop can't survive conscious recognition. The question now is, will you choose to keep observing the old story or step into the unknown? When you observe reality unconsciously, you're not just looking, you're locking. Every thought of this is who I am, or this is how life always goes, acts like a quantum command. The field doesn't interpret it as a passing idea, it treats it as a frequency order, and collapses reality to match. This is why unconscious observation is so dangerous. It keeps you tethered to a trapped timeline, a narrow loop of probabilities that repeats no matter how much effort you apply. You might work harder, dream bigger, even make different choices on the surface. Yet underneath, the field responds to the same unconscious broadcast, more of the same. Think of it like driving with your GPS stuck on a destination you never meant to choose. No matter how many turns you try, the system keeps rerouting you back to the same place. That's what unconscious observation does. It reroutes you to the same version of reality, Again, the tragedy is that most people never realize they're the ones holding the GPS. They think life is fixed, when in truth, it's their unconscious attention writing the script. Imagine standing in front of a perfect mirror. Every movement you make, every expression you show, the mirror instantly reflects it back to you. Now, take this idea further. In the quantum field, reality itself behaves like a mirror of your observation. But here's the catch. When your observation is unconscious, the mirror doesn't just reflect you. Become trapped. Think about how you replay old emotions. You recall past failures, disappointments, betrayals. Each time you reflect on them, the mirror projects them forward, making them appear again in your life. You believe you're only remembering, but in truth, you're recreating. The mirror of reality doesn't distinguish between past and present. It only amplifies the frequency you embody. This is why people often meet the same kind of partner or boss. Even though the faces change, the mirror is reflecting the pattern of observation, not the external details. As long as your unconscious attention keeps focusing on, "This always happens to me," the quantum mirror faithfully echoes it back as your lived reality. Here's the subtle danger. Most people think they're analyzing their past to understand it. But in the act of reflection, they unknowingly reinforce the very script they're trying to escape. The mirror locks them. The only way out is to change what you embody before looking into the mirror. When you shift frequency, the reflection must shift too. The mirror doesn't create, it responds. And once you realize that, you stop fighting the reflection and start transforming the source. One of the clearest signs that you're caught in unconscious observation is time distortion. Have you noticed how ordinary hours can feel painfully slow, yet entire weeks vanish without meaningful change? That elastic sense of time isn't random. It's evidence that your consciousness is looping, collapsing the same probability waves until motion feels like progress, when in truth, you're circling the same track. Another unmistakable sign is the appearance of repeating patterns. Different people enter your life, yet the same dynamics unfold. The relationship that begins with promise but ends in the same disappointment. The job that feels new but repeats the same frustrations. The details shift, but the underlying. These distortions and repetitions aren't failures, they're signals. They're the quantum field showing you that your observation is stuck on the same frequency. Most dismiss them as bad luck or just my life. But in reality, they are invitations. The universe is whispering, "Pay attention." The loop is visible. You can choose differently. When you start recognizing these signs, you're no longer fully trapped. Awareness itself begins to loosen the cycle, and that recognition opens the doorway to a new frequency. So here's the paradox. The very act of observation, what science calls the observer effect, is both the mechanism that creates your reality and the trap that holds you in place. When done unconsciously, observation collapses the same story again and again, keeping you bound to a timeline that feels But if observing reality is what keeps you stuck, then what truly sets you free? The answer isn't found in watching harder, visualizing more vividly, or analyzing your patterns endlessly. Those approaches only reinforce the same groove. The breakthrough comes when you recognize that freedom doesn't happen at the level of observing. It happens before observing. It happens in the frequency you embody, the state you carry into the moment of observation. This is the hidden key most people never discover. And here's why you're different. The very fact that you're still listening, still resonating with these words, means you're ready to see beyond the loop. You've already glimpsed the cracks in the mirror, the distortions of time, the repetition of patterns. Now comes the turning point to understand why observation is not enough, and how one subtle shift can break the loop forever. There comes a moment when the old script no longer feels solid. You sense the cracks forming. Even if nothing external has changed yet, conversations that once felt automatic now feel hollow, like lines in a play you no longer want to perform. Jobs, routines, or relationships that used to define you suddenly feel like costumes that don't fit. This is the sensation of the script. It can be unsettling. You may wake up with a quiet knowing that this isn't my life anymore. Even though you're still living inside the same circumstances, you may catch yourself pulling back from patterns that once consumed you, noticing that they no longer hold the same power. The illusion is weakening, and these cracks are not breakdowns, they are breakthroughs. They signal that your consciousness is preparing to step outside the loop, that the holographic projection holding the old story together is losing its grip. When the script starts to fracture, you are no longer fully trapped inside it. You are beginning to stand on the edge, sensing a new timeline calling you forward. The question is, will you step through the... There's a moment in the awakening process when reality feels strangely thin, like a stage set that's starting to wobble. You go through familiar routines, work, conversations, habits, but they no longer carry the same weight. What once felt solid now feels fragile, as if the script itself is beginning to fracture. You may notice yourself pulling back during conversations, hearing the words but no longer believing the storyline. Daily roles: employee, partner, friend suddenly feel like costumes you're wearing rather than identities. You are. The play continues, but you can sense the stage lights dimming, the props losing their power. This feeling can be disorienting. You might even think something is wrong with you because the old life doesn't feel real anymore. But this is not dysfunction, it's evidence of expansion. Your consciousness is loosening from the loop, slipping through the cracks in the holographic glass. When the script feels hollow, it's not the end, it's the beginning. It means the old narrative no longer has the authority to define you. The fracture is the invitation step beyond the stage, and write a new role, one that matches the frequency. Picture reality as a vast pane of glass, a holographic projection, so convincing that you forget it isn't solid. Most people live their entire lives staring at the glass, believing every reflection, every detail, every story etched upon its surface. But during awakening, something remarkable happens. You begin to see cracks forming in the holographic glass. These cracks show up in strange ways. Maybe you notice the world glitch for a split second, a flicker of light, a sentence repeated, a sense that time skipped a frame, or perhaps you sense that the emotions and identities you've carried for years suddenly feel paper thin, like stickers peeling away from the glass. These aren't random glitches. They're signals that the illusion is weakening. Through those cracks, you catch glimpses of something beyond a light shining from the other side, a presence reminding you that this solid world is only a projection. The more you notice the cracks, the harder it becomes to take the old script seriously. What once seemed immovable begins to feel fragile, temporary, even artificial. The cracks are not here to frighten you. They are invitations. They say, look deeper. You are not bound to this surface reality. There is something greater beyond the glass. And when you realize that the glass can break, you understand the truth. The loop is not eternal. It can shatter. And when it does, you are free to step into the reality that was waiting for you all along. If you've been noticing these signs, synchronicities that align too perfectly, dreams that feel more real than waking life, glitches that reveal the fragility of the script, or cracks in the holographic glass, then here's the truth: your quantum key has been activated. This activation isn't something you forced. It isn't the result of more effort, more discipline, or more spiritual techniques. It's the natural outcome of your consciousness reaching a threshold where it can no longer be contained by the old loop. The system itself begins to release you because your frequency is no longer compatible with the script you once lived inside. Think of it as a lock clicking open. For years, you may have felt trapped in the same corridors of reality, trying door after door with no success. But now, without warning, one of the doors has swung open. You may not fully understand how or why, but you feel it, the unmistakable sense that life is no longer confined to repetition. Your awareness of the signs is proof. You've passed the test. The key has turned, and the only question now is whether you'll step through into the new timeline waiting on the... For years, Spiritual teachers and scientists alike have repeated the same phrase: your observation collapses reality. And yes, that principle is true, but only at the surface. What most people don't realize is that the observer effect is just the observation explains how possibilities collapse, but it doesn't explain why you collapse into the same ones again and again. That mystery lies in what happens before observation. It's not the act of looking that decides your reality. It's the frequency you embody the moment. Think of it like watching shadows on a wall. The shadow moves when the object moves, but the shadow itself isn't the source. The observer effect is the shadow, the visible outcome, but the true mechanism is the position of the object casting it your embodied frequency. This is why so many people misunderstand manifestation. They focus on observing harder, visualizing longer, affirming louder. But they're working with shadows, not with the source. Until you shift your inner frequency, your observation will only recycle the same story. No matter how much effort you pour into it, before you ever open your eyes to the world around you, a choice has already been made. Not a choice of logic, not a choice of willpower, but a quantum choice, what I call quantum selection. It is the silent decision your energy field makes about which version of reality you will experience. And this decision happens before observation. Most people believe that looking, visualizing, or focusing attention creates reality. But here's the secret. Those actions only reveal the reality that was already chosen at the level of frequency. The real creation happens in what you embody. Think of it like tuning a radio. You don't create the station by turning the dial. You simply reveal what was already broadcasting. The dial setting is your embodiment, the frequency you carry. Observation is just the sound coming through the speakers. If you want a different song, you don't stare harder at the radio, you shift the frequency first. This is the power of quantum selection. When you embody peace, your observation reveals realities that match peace. When you embody fear, your observation collapses into timelines of fear. The external world isn't primary, it's secondary, a reflection of your inner. And here's the liberation: you don't have to fight the old script, rewrite it, or resist it. You simply stop embodying the vibration that feeds it. By embodying a new state, you select a new framework of reality before the moment of observation. This is where true freedom begins. Imagine standing beside a vast river. The surface is filled with endless ripples, each one reflecting the sunlight in slightly different patterns. Most people spend their lives staring at the ripples, hoping that by focusing on a particular one, they can change the course of the river. But no matter how long they stare, the river keeps flowing. This is the mistake of relying solely on the observer effect. Watching the ripples doesn't change the current. Observation alone locks you into the same stream of time. You collapse the same possibilities over and over, while believing. The truth is, transformation doesn't happen by observing ripples. It happens when you step into the water and shift streams entirely. This is the time ripple metaphor. You don't influence the surface by looking, you embody a new flow. You jump into a different current, one that carries you toward a new time. When you shift frequency, it's like diving into another part of the river. Suddenly, the ripples look different, the reflections change, and the scenery along the banks transforms. You didn't force the old river to change. You simply selected a new flow. This is the essence of quantum selection. You're not a passive watcher of ripples. You're a swimmer, free to leap into any current you choose. The moment you stop fixating on the surface and start embodying a new stream, the entire river of your reality changes direction beneath your feet. Here is the unshakable truth. Observation alone keeps you trapped. Embodiment sets you free. As long as you keep staring at the ripples, watching the mirror, or replaying the old script, you collapse into the same probabilities again and again. Observation without transformation is repetition, disguise. But the moment you embody a new frequency before observing, everything changes. You're no longer collapsing into yesterday's version of yourself. You're selecting a new timeline entirely. Observation stops being a prison and becomes a door. This is why so many attempts at manifestation fail. People visualize, affirm, and focus, but they forget the core. You can only observe what you first embody. Your inner state is the true key. Without it, observation is powerless. With it, observation becomes magic. So let this declaration sink into your cells. I am not trapped by what I see. I am liberated by what I embody. Say it, feel it, breathe it. Because once you embody your highest frequency, the loop cannot hold you. And here's the ultimate shift: once you embody truth, you can never unknow it. The loop shatters. The script dissolves, and your new reality begins now. The first step in shifting reality is not about doing more. It's about letting go of the old script. Most people remain stuck because they keep trying to rewrite the same story, adding new chapters, new affirmations, new characters without realizing they're still trapped inside the same. Letting go means recognizing that the old identity no longer serves you. It's not about fixing the past version of yourself. It's about stepping out of the role entirely. Imagine an actor who has played the same part for years. No matter how many times they improvise their lines, they are still confined to the role. Freedom in quantum terms. Every time you invest energy into why things went wrong or how to make the old work, you are feeding the loop. You're giving frequency to a timeline that already collapsed. The more you analyze, the more you reinforce. The field doesn't care about your intentions. It responds only. So letting go is not passive. It's a conscious act of withdrawal. It's the moment you stop pouring life force into yesterday's narrative. It's the courage to say, this story is over. I no longer belong to this role. The paradox is that true release often feels like emptiness at first. But in that emptiness, the quantum field rushes to fill the space with something new. By letting go of the old script, you create the opening for a higher timeline to write itself through you. Once you release the old script, the next step is to align yourself into coherence. Coherence is the state where your thoughts, emotions, and body come into harmony, vibrating at the same frequency. Most people live in incoherence, thinking one thing, feeling another, and acting in ways that contradict both. This inner fragmentation keeps their field chaotic, which is why reality mirrors back confusion and stagnation. Coherence, on the other hand, is like tuning an instrument. When every string is tightened to the right pitch, the entire instrument resonates beautifully. Your body and mind work the same way. When your heart and brain synchronize, your energy field becomes stable, and the quantum field responds instantly to that stability. This is not theory. Science has shown that heart-brain coherence creates measurable shifts in electromagnetic patterns around the body. In spiritual terms, coherence is the signal that tells the universe, I am ready. I am aligned. The clearer the signal, the cleaner the reflection. Coherence is not about perfection. It's about congruence. It's when your thoughts of peace match your feelings of peace, and your actions embody that peace. At that point, you no longer just hope for a better reality. The secret is simple. Incoherence collapses you back into old loops. Coherence unlocks new timelines. And the more you practice coherence, the more effortless your shifts become. Here's the quantum secret most people miss. You can only observe what you first embody. Observation without embodiment is like looking into a mirror, expecting to see a different face without changing your expression. The mirror doesn't create, it reflects. The quantum field works the same way. Before you open your eyes each morning, you are already carrying a vibration. That vibration is what selects the version of reality you will collapse into. If you wake up embodying stress, you will observe realities that confirm stress. If you wake up embodying gratitude, you will observe realities that expand gratitude. The state comes first. This is why embodiment is more powerful than thought alone. Thoughts can lie. You can think I am abundant while still embodying lack, but the field doesn't respond to words. It responds to frequency. and frequency is carried in your body, your breath, your heart rhythm. Embodiment is a living choice. It's not something you do once, it's something you carry. When you walk as if you are already free, reality has no choice but to mirror freedom back to you. When you breathe as if you are already loved, reality bends to confirm it. So stop asking, what do I need to see differently? The real question is, what do I need to embody before I look? For once you embody the truth, observation becomes effortless and liberation inevitable. One of the simplest ways to break free from the loop is through the breath. Breath is the bridge between your body and the quantum field. When you change the way you breathe, you change the signal you send into reality. Here is a practice, 3 breaths to collapse the old frequency. On the first inhale, imagine drawing in fresh energy from the quantum field. Hold it briefly, feeling it wash through every cell. Exhale with the intention of releasing yesterday. On the second inhale, visualize pulling in coherence, mind, heart, and body aligning as one. Exhale and let go of every pattern that doesn't belong to the new you. On the third inhale, embody your chosen frequency: peace, love, freedom. Feel it as if it's already real. Exhale and declare silently, "This is my timeline now." This simple ritual only takes a minute, but it works because it resets your state before observation. Instead of unconsciously replaying the old script, you consciously collapse its frequency and step into a new one. With every breath, you're not just breathing air, you're breathing reality into form. Sometimes the loop is strongest because it feels invisible. To break it, you need a physical act that anchors your intention into the quantum field. That's where the ritual of declaration comes in. Take a piece of paper and write one sentence with full presence. This script ends now. As you write, let your body feel the weight of each word. This isn't just writing, it's imprinting a command into reality. The paper becomes a container for the old timeline. When you're ready, destroy it. Tear it into pieces, burn it safely, or dissolve it in water. As you do, speak softly or silently. I release this loop. I no longer belong to this story. The act of destruction symbolizes the collapse. Why does this work? Because the subconscious mind responds powerfully to ritual. By combining thought, word, and action, you send a clear signal to the field. You are done rehearsing the old play. The ritual doesn't need to be dramatic. What matters is your sincerity. Each time you perform it, you're not just letting go of paper, you're letting go of the unconscious and with that release, you carve out space for a higher timeline to enter. If the mind is the architect, the heart is the power source. Without coherence between the two, the signal you send into the quantum field is weak and fragmented. The heart coherence activation is a practice that restores alignment, turning your entire body into a transmitter of a single. Here's how to do it. Place your hand gently over your heart. Close your eyes. Slow your breathing. Inhale for 5 counts. Exhale for 5. With each breath, imagine your awareness sinking from your head into your heart. Feel as if you're breathing through your chest. Now, call forth the emotion you wish to embody: peace, gratitude, love, freedom. Don't just think about it, feel it. Let your body vibrate with it. As the emotion fills your chest, whisper or think this declaration: I embody coherence with my highest timeline. What happens in this moment is profound. Your heart generates a measurable electromagnetic field that extends beyond your body. When your thoughts and emotions synchronize in coherence, this field becomes stable, strong, and magnetic. The quantum field cannot resist it, mirrors coherence back into your reality. The key is consistency. Just a few minutes each day rewires your nervous system, teaching your body the language of the frequency you've chosen. Over time, it becomes second nature. When your heart leads, your mind follows, and the loop dissolves. This isn't just a practice, it's the activation of your new reality. Your shift is not just about you. Every time you step out of the loop, you send a ripple into the collective field. The quantum field is not isolated, it is shared, which means that when one person embodies a higher frequency, others unconsciously feel it. This is the hidden power of awakening it. Multiplies. Think about how a single candle can light many others without losing its flame. In the same way, your personal liberation becomes a spark for those around you. When you embody freedom, people near you begin to question their own scripts. When you embody peace, others sense stability in your presence. When you embody love, it invites love to awaken in them too. This is why your transformation matters. It's not just self-healing, it's collective healing. Each time you refuse to replay the old story, you weaken the gravitational pull of that story for everyone. Each time you choose coherence, you make coherence easier for the collective field beyond the individual. Awakening becomes resonance. One awakened frequency resonates outward, like a tuning fork, causing others to vibrate in harmony. And the more of us who embody this shift, the faster the old structures dissolve. So understand this, your shift is never selfish. It is service. By freeing yourself, you participate in freeing humanity. By stepping out of your loop, you open the path for others to do the same. Reality is not a single fixed track. It's an ocean of possibilities. Each wave represents a potential timeline, and every choice, every vibration, determines which wave you ride. Most people cling to the same familiar waves, circling endlessly within the observer loop. But when you shift, you leap into a new current, and that leap doesn't just affect you. It sends ripples across the entire ocean. This is where the principle of morphic resonance comes alive. The idea is simple: when one pattern is established in the field, it becomes easier for others to access it. Once one person breaks free from the loop, the pathway becomes lighter for everyone else. Your awakening lowers the resistance for others who are still searching. Imagine the first drop of water breaking free from the tide. As it moves, it creates ripples that extend outward, influencing waves far beyond its own circle. In the same way, your choice to embody a new frequency resonates into the collective. Without words, without effort, your very state of being becomes an invitation for others to remember their own freedom. The beauty is that you don't have to convince anyone. The field does the work. Morphic resonance carries your shift into the hearts of others, gently awakening them to their own possibilities. So each time you embody love, peace, or truth, know this: you are not just changing your life, you are stirring the entire ocean of human potential. Every timeline needs anchors. Without them, new realities remain fleeting, like dreams that dissolve when you wake. Anchoring the new reality means embodying it so fully that it stabilizes, not just for you. When you step out of the loop, you become part of the first wave, the pioneers who hold the vibration of freedom, love, and coherence long enough for it to crystallize. Think of it like planting seeds in new soil. The moment you embody a higher frequency, you are planting the seeds of a reality that humanity has not yet. Anchoring doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. It's choosing again and again to return to coherence when chaos pulls you away. It's declaring, I am rooted in my highest timeline, no matter what appears around me. Each time you hold this frequency, you strengthen the foundation of the new world. And here's the greater truth: the collective field is always listening. Every time you embody your new reality, you transmit it into the shared grid of human consciousness. Others who are ready can feel it, like a faint signal guiding them home. So never underestimate your role. By anchoring the frequency of awakening in your daily life, you're not only transforming yourself, you're helping to stabilize a timeline where humanity as a whole can awaken. You are not just living a shift. You are securing the foundation of a new. So here we are, at the edge of everything you've known. You began this journey believing that observation was the key, that if you simply looked harder, visualized longer, or affirmed louder, your reality would change. But now you see the hidden truth: observation, without embodiment, is the loop. Embodiment before. You've seen how unconscious observation traps you in old timelines, how déjà vu, glitches, and repeating patterns reveal the script playing over and over. You've discovered the cracks in the holographic glass, the ripples of time, the mirror that reflects not what you want but what you embody. And you've felt the power of coherence, the practices that collapse old frequencies, the rituals that free you from the invisible contract of yesterday. But most of all, you've glimpsed the greater calling. Your shift is not only for you. When you embody freedom, you anchor freedom in the collective. When you choose peace, you amplify peace for humanity. When you embody love, you participate in the resonance that awakens the entire field. This is where your declaration matters, because every word you speak in alignment becomes a signal. Every choice you embody becomes a new seed planted in the soil of. So I invite you, right here, right now, to claim it. I am free from the old loop. I embody coherence with my highest timeline. My shift is irreversible. Write it in the comments. Whisper it to yourself. Speak it out loud. Let your body feel it. The act of declaration seals the frequency, anchoring it in the quantum. Remember, reality doesn't change because you hope. It changes because you embody, and once you embody truth, you cannot unknow it. The loop shatters, the script dissolves, and the new earth rises through you, and through all of us. Your shift has already begun. Now, declare it,